This episode of Aliens Explored is dedicated to our Explorer of the Week, Toby Fomes. Toby has signed up to our Patreon, which helps us and provides us with the resources to do what we love and which we know that you love too. Check out our Patreon page at patreon.com/Aliens Explored and see what rewards are available to you, including t-shirts and the chance to join us in a discussion of whatever particular aspect of ufology interests you. So thanks once again to Toby Fomes, our Explorer of the Week.
Aliens Explored is a podcast exploring famous and obscure cases of UFO sightings, alien abductions and other strange events from both a believing and a sceptical perspective whilst keeping an open mind. I'm Stu Jackson, a professional actor and amateur ufologist with a particular interest in the crop circle phenomenon. I'll be debating that otherworldly visitations are real. The truth is out there.
And I'm Neil Kelly. I'm a professional actor as well and used to work for the military as an intelligence analyst. I'll be arguing from a more doubtful point of view. I mean, it's all a bit far-fetched, isn't it? In June 1959, William Gill, an Anglican priest in Papua New Guinea, observed a strange craft hovering in the sky, with figures seemingly walking around on top of it. Around 25 other people saw it too. They even signalled to these humanoids and received a response. Was this a UFO, or is there a more prosaic explanation? Join us on Aliens Explored as we delve into the Papua New Guinea UFO of June 1959.
Welcome back, listeners, to Aliens Explored, your weekly podcast where we look at UFO encounters, extraterrestrial encounters, extra-dimensional beings, all manner of strange and mysterious things from, we're guessing, the skies? Who knows, though? I am one of your hosts, Stu Jackson.
And I'm your other host, Neil Kelly.
You're also one of our hosts.
I'm also one of your hosts, yeah.
How are you doing, Neil?
Yeah, good, thanks. You?
Oh, yes, very good, thank you. Let's see, at the time this goes out, I will have just got back from America.
Wow, yes.
So, yeah, I had a wonderful time. I mean, we're recording this in advance, but I'm hoping I had a wonderful time.
You're hoping, yes, that it will have been a wonderful time by the time listeners hear this.
Yeah, off to a Star Trek convention in Chicago. Very
nice.
Excited.
First time.
Excited. First time ever in America. So, a little bit nervous about COVID, a little bit nervous about guns. Yeah.
Well, they're real dangers. I mean, one thing that starts, I've been to America a few times, and the thing that struck me the first time, I don't know if Americans will agree with this, but we think we're very familiar with America because we're always seeing it on our TV screens, cinema screens. We think we know America and that it's like here. And then when you get over there, you find actually it's very different. And attitudes are very different. And even trying to find a toilet is very different. It's, I was surprised how alien it was to me.
What key differences should I be looking for then?
I know it's the little things. It's the way things are done. It's hard to put my finger on it. It was just something that I thought would be very familiar suddenly wasn't very familiar from the moment I arrived.
Got me a little bit worried saying there aren't any toilets because, I'm of a certain age.
Even things that you're used to seeing on TV, like people walking around with holstered guns, it's disconcerting when you first see it.
You do actually get that then. That's not just Hollywood.
No, you do actually get that, yeah. Oh, I mean, people who are authorised, people in uniform.
Okay, yeah. funnily enough, when I moved to London, which was, what was that, 5 years ago now. I mean, I'm fairly used to city life. I'd lived in various cities around the UK, but moved to London, and I was out walking in the West of London one day, and I walked past. I'm guessing it must be an ambassadorial place, and there are guards outside with machine guns.
Yeah, if you're
Scared the crap out of me.
if you're anywhere near the Saudi embassy or the Israeli embassy, yeah, be careful approaching those.
I mean, I didn't approach it. I was literally just walking past the bit. But yeah, two cars either side of the front door with actual machine guns. All right, whoa! No. I'm not a fan of guns. Not a fan of guns.
We're not used to them over here. They're not part of our lives.
No. But anyway, that's not what we're here to talk about this week. I mean, we always end up talking about things we're not here to talk about. That's part and parcel of it. But this week we are going back in time to June 1959 and the islands of Papua New Guinea and Nandwani in particular. And it's this really interesting story that has been examined and the people involved interviewed extensively, where you've got a missionary school run by Father Gill.
An Anglican priest.
An Anglican priest indeed, and his 38 students who have a UFO encounter. Now, I'm going to ask the question. I often ask this of you, Neil. Had you heard of this encounter before we said we were going to talk about it?
I don't think I have. I mean, the picture. I mean, there's a sort of sketch of the UFO, which looks like a table with people walking around on top of it.
Oh, Father Gill's sketches.
Yeah, I've seen that somewhere before. But I hadn't really heard of it. I hadn't put it in any context. Papua New Guinea or Father Gill didn't mean anything to me.
Right. I mean, it might be... it comes up quite often on these documentaries that we like to watch. So maybe it was one of those. But yeah, so... well, it starts before June, in fact. It starts around April time of 1959, when he and his students notice quite a lot of strange objects in the night sky over an extended period of time.
Actual objects that they could see up close. I mean,
moving objects. Yeah, not. Or my understanding of it is not identifiable as vehicles or anything like that. Just lights moving about.
We're talking either lights in the night sky or possibly aircraft in the distance, or
but moving about, and for them to have made note of it, we're obviously talking about something unusual with that. But no, 26th of June is when it all kicks off massively. When this four-legged disc-shaped object hovers nearby in front of them all. And 4 figures emerge from it and start working on it. It doesn't land, even though it's got legs. It just hovers there.
It's sort of hovering there. Did he say how high it was?
It didn't. I don't recall seeing a particular height.
No, I couldn't find anything about height. But it just said it looks like a round coffee table with 4 legs that are actually so close to the centre, you imagine it wouldn't be very stable. Once it's landed, they'd be telling you, don't walk too far over that side, you'll tip the whole thing up. Apparently, it said in inverted commas, they signalled these humanoid forms and received an apparent response, which wasn't...
They waved at them.
Is that what they mean when they signalled them?
That wasn't until the second night.
Right.
So on the first night, this thing just appears and they just watch them as these humanoid figures, and I'm saying humanoid, one head, two arms, two legs, that's humanoid. They come in and out of it. There's occasionally a blue light that shines out the top of it. But for 45 minutes, it hovers there whilst it... I think the theorising that Father Gill did and his students was that they were either doing repairs or some kind of work on it. That's what it looked to them to be.
Now, Father Gill drew a picture of this thing, a little sketch, and also in the sketch, seemingly coming out of the top of it at an angle, he's written "shaft of blue light."
Yes, that came and went.
Is that coming from the craft or going to the craft?
Coming from the craft.
Right. I can't tell from his sketch whether it's going straight up into the sky or at an angle into the sky or sort of going horizontal.
It was going from his description. It was going pretty much straight up.
Right.
But yeah, this strange blue light. Yeah, 45 minutes. I mean, that's not a short amount of time to be hovering there.
And they just stood there watching them for 45 minutes. And
yeah,
because extraterrestrials can be very shy sometimes, can't they? As soon as they realise they're being observed, off they go.
Seems to be. But on the second night, the 27th, now this is where the waving comes in, because we're assuming the same craft, but certainly appears to be the same craft, appears with two smaller craft as well.
Right.
Kind of flanking it. And the same thing happens again. Humanoids come out and appear to be doing work, and one of the I think it's one of the people assisting Father Gill sort of waves their hands like both hands together, as you would signal someone on a craft some distance away, and they do the same back. And then later on, Father Gill gets a flashlight and switches it on and starts sort of swinging it through the air. And the craft moves in the same pattern afterwards as a response. Yeah, there's a few times during the evening that they wave to them and they wave back as a response.
Now, Papua New Guinea, especially in those days, was an extremely remote and underdeveloped part of the world, wasn't it? Basically, people were living, hunter-gatherers living in the jungle.
Yeah.
And I guess he was there to bring his Anglican faith to them. Yeah. But yeah, well, I don't know if anyone, any extraterrestrials were there to observe any technology. We're interested in your blowpipes and spears and.
Well, who knows what they were doing? Like I say, they speculated that they might have been doing repairs, but that is speculation. But this time it's there for 1 hour, 45 minutes.
Now, there's been speculation that it was an experimental aircraft. That doesn't sound very likely. I don't know of any craft that would just hover there while people walk around on top of it, fixing it.
Nor, being waved at, would they wave back in an experimental craft like that?
I don't know. I don't know. You're doing something you shouldn't be doing in a top secret craft, and someone sees you doing it and waves to you, and you think, "Oh, I'll just wave back like it's no big deal. Like there's nothing to see here, folks. I just,
That's it." And then we have an occurrence on the 8th night as well, on the 28th. Sorry, on the 3rd night, not the 8th night, on the 28th, which was the 3rd night. This time you have 8 objects in the sky late at night, or later in the evening. And of course, by this time, it's becoming old hat. So Father Gill sort of sees it there, so he goes in.
Can't be asked.
Pops his head out, has a look. Oh, yeah, they're still there. Goes back in, has something to eat. And after a period of time, they're still there. And then it wasn't until quite late at night, about they recorded it as 20 past 11. There's a loud bang that comes from above. Obviously, they rush out and have a look, and these 8 objects are quite a distance up in the sky. They later had a look, or the next day they had a look at the roof of this missionary, because the bang, they thought something had been damaged or broken. Absolutely no damage whatsoever. Which makes you wonder if it was a sonic boom they heard or something like that.
That would be the first. I mean, we've looked at all these cases of UFOs flying at phenomenal speeds, and one thing they don't do is seem to have any visible means of propulsion. Well, a lot of the time they don't, but they certainly don't break the sound barrier. They obviously have a way of passing through the air, or maybe they're just not solid enough.
Yeah,
the interdimensional craft, they're not building up enough air pressure in front of them to cause a sonic boom.
Yeah,
that is how a sonic boom works, isn't it? It all builds up in front of you and then you go through it.
Compresses the air. Yeah, I'm not an expert, but yes, it's you're compressing the air in front of you, creating a vacuum behind you.
Also, like, flying saucers don't seem to have what we would understand as the normal means of steering an aircraft, the ailerons and rudders and that sort of thing.
Not that we can see. No.
Which are, I mean, with our aircraft, you can tell the difference between an aircraft that can fly at supersonic speeds and one that can't or isn't intended to, just by looking at the tail. Because what test pilots discovered, usually at the cost of their lives, when they were first breaking the sound barrier, was a normal tail plane on an aircraft. It would have a fixed tail plane with these ailerons on it that would go up and down to direct the plane up and down. The ailerons go up, the plane goes whatever. The ailerons go down, the plane dives. And what they found was that as they approached the speed of sound, they lost control. Or the controls appeared to be reversed, and they couldn't work out why. They realised it was because there's so much turbulence around it that it can't function normally. So if you see a supersonic aircraft, it'll be with the whole tailplane rotates. It's not just a fixed tailplane with a couple of ailerons. It's the whole tailplane. That's how you can tell it's supersonic. But UFOs don't seem to have anything like that.
No.
And of course, if you're navigating through space, well, yeah, you can't navigate through space with fins that are designed to steer you by causing
pressure.
Well, basically, yeah, you want to turn left, so you put up a fin that will cause resistance, wind resistance or air resistance on the left hand side, on your port side, I should say, and then you'll veer around to the left because your port side has slowed down. That's how you steer a plane.
Well, rockets, I mean, I know they have very small fins on them, but I'm speculating a bit, but I think that's just to stop them from spinning round, isn't it?
I don't know, or maybe it's just decorative, like on a 1950s 1950s car, all the chrome work and
much decorative on a rocket. But certainly they don't have wings and ailerons, like you say. But no, this is very much your traditional disc-shaped craft.
But not your traditional guys getting out and walking around on top of it.
No, that's unusual. And indeed, Reverend Gill, or Father Gill, he's been interviewed by a lot of people, obviously, over the years. Notably, Hynek, who created the classifications, the close encounters classifications, He interviewed him famously. Yeah, people found him to be intelligent and insightful,
Sober, lucid.
thoughtful, and a really good quality witness. And of course, because it's not just him, there's 38 of his students as well.
But it didn't plunge him into a religious mania. He didn't see it as a sign of
No,
the apocalypse or
no,
angels or anything like that. He didn't.
no, just seemed to be
His creed didn't really.
taking it very. I mean, seeing it as unusual, but yeah, really, really interesting case.
For our non-British listeners, the Anglican Church is an offshoot of the Catholic Church. That when Henry VIII wanted to divorce Catherine of Aragon, and the Pope wouldn't let him, the Pope wouldn't agree to it. I mean, the Pope had all sorts of. There was other pressure on him. The fact that Catherine of Aragon was an extremely powerful woman. Her nephew was the Holy Roman Emperor, who pretty much had the Pope surrounded in Vatican City. The Pope didn't want to do anything to upset the aunt of the guy who was holding him hostage. So he didn't agree to the divorce, and it all ended up with Henry VIII creating not a Protestant religion, but the English Catholic religion without the corruption of Rome, which became the Catholic Church. So in terms of how they conduct their services and their beliefs and their communion and all that, it's not very different from the Catholic Church at all.
No, just the English version, or anglicised, or Anglican.
Yes,
Yes.
Anglican, yeah.
Whenever you mention Catherine of Aragon, though, I always think daughter of Arathon. I don't know what else to say about this. It has been suggested that maybe he was looking at Venus. Venus was visible in the night sky.
Yeah, I mean,
that seems a bit of a stretch.
He's been interviewed. Presumably, some of his students have been interviewed. They all agree on what they saw. They saw it up close and for an extended period of time, enough to have a good look at it.
Yeah.
I mean, did any of them think, well, it's near enough, I'll take a walk and walk underneath it and maybe look at it from the other side? Or was it out in the sea or something?
I think it was out a distance away. I mean, the fact that we're having to sort of wave with their hands over their heads. I don't get the impression it was like a few feet away. I get the impression it was rather further away than that.
But enough to wave to someone. Near enough to wave and for them to see you and wave back.
But at that sort of distance, if they were non-human, would that be noticeable? I
mean, did Father Gill actually use the expression humanoid forms, or did he say people? I saw people wandering around on top.
That's an excellent question. I haven't seen his original report on it, or read transcripts from his original interviews, but we have seen his sketches.
Yeah, I mean, I've got his sketches,
and they're definitely humanoid in that. I mean, it's the word humanoid is the one that I'm using just to, like I said, very broadly, one head, two arms, two legs. That's humanoid.
The sketch that I'm looking at is sort of, because he's sketching what he saw from underneath. You can only see the sort of top half, so you can see a head and body. He's drawn it too small. The detail of the arms isn't there, and presumably he was able to get because you can't see their legs. You can speculate that they've got two legs. Maybe they've got 8 tentacles like an octopus.
It's theoretically possible, although, no, if it's I was going to say he would have seen the way they were moving, and if they were moving oddly. But then, if it was at distance, would he have noticed if they were moving oddly?
Yeah, and I'd also imagine if you're stood on top of a flying disc, assuming the proportions here are realistic, or close to what he saw, then yeah, you wouldn't be walking around. Or you'd either have a safety harness of some kind, or you'd be treading very tentatively, or maybe you've got some way of walking that's some kind of special shoe, or maybe it's a natural feature of your foot that you can just adhere to things. And maybe these things can walk up walls.
Magnetic boots. There might also be technological protections in place. If, for example, there's an invisible force field type thing stopping them from falling off the edge. I don't know. All we can do is speculate on that.
Maybe they were under some sort of transparent dome that didn't reflect the light, so it looked like they were just walking around the top.
Yeah.
Who knows?
That's
speculating. I can't. It's hard to come up with an alternative, a prosaic explanation for this, isn't it? It's to say, well, it could have been this or it could have been that. No, I don't think it could. I don't think it could have been an experimental aircraft. I don't think it could have been Venus.
No. Which brings us up to 3 possibilities.
Okay.
He and his students are just out and out lying for whatever reason. He and his students are under the influence of something, medication, drugs, some sort of mass delusion of some description. Or the third option, they're telling the truth. So you've got lying or deliberately lying, inadvertently lying, or telling the truth.
Now, there's one report that said this was one of 60 UFO sightings within a few weeks in the New Guinea area. So,
yes, I read something similar. Yeah, there were a lot.
There were a lot, and who knows why? I mean,
well, UFO sightings do tend to cluster. I know we've talked about some in Belgium when there was like a whole spate of them happening all at once. They do cluster. Now, whether that's because somebody sees one and then everybody's suddenly looking up, seeing if they can see one when they just wouldn't have noticed them otherwise, I'm not entirely sure.
Is it recorded how if this had any effect on the rest of William Gill's life, Father Gill's life?
Well, it's bound to have had an effect on him.
Destroyed his faith, or reaffirmed his faith.
Nothing one way or another on that I can see, but
it's fun. I mean, I'm just speculating here, but someone with deep enough religious beliefs to become an Anglican priest immediately thinks creatures from another world rather than angels, for instance.
Well, why not?
Why not what?
Why not think of creatures from another world? I mean, so I personally don't believe in any God, but if I did, I could quite happily reconcile in my head the idea that just because he created life on this planet doesn't mean to say he hasn't created it on other planets as well.
If you believe in something that's outside of this world, and then you see something that doesn't fit this world, you're going to try and fit it to the thing that you believe in, aren't you? So,
not always.
You see these creatures in the sky glowing, and why wouldn't you think they were angels if that's the kind of thing you believe in?
Well, don't forget the whole thing about angels having wings is not in the Bible anyway.
No,
that's a recent addition.
Yeah, and he might have known that, but he's seen these beings coming down from the heavens.
There are many examples of ufologists who are devout Christians as well. The two things can exist side by side.
Is it true that in the 18th century, when people first started going up in balloons, the Montgolfier brothers, and then so on, that there was concern that they would disturb heaven? They were going up into the sky.
I've heard that. I've heard it.
And then when people did go up in the sky and found that there was no kingdom of heaven up there, they kind of had to come up with another story about where heaven is.
Yeah,
There to think of it in different terms. It's not just up in the clouds.
Well, we are taught, or certainly, in this country, because we're an allegedly Christian country. I was taught at school to like Christian beliefs, and heaven is up in the sky, hell is down below us. Well, of course, it's far more abstract than that. Anyway, like when you read the actual Bible, it is far more abstract than that. It's not saying it is directly beneath your feet, and in fact, the whole Bible is just really abstract. And people, I don't have problems with Christian, except for when people take it very, very literally.
I don't know. I don't have a problem with that, because I think, well, if you're going to believe this, you can't cherry pick the Bible. You either believe it's the Word of God or you don't. You can't say, well, I believe this bit but not that bit, or this, although this sounds improbable, it probably means something else, or I've interpreted this in a different way. And I don't hold with that. If you're going to be a Christian, be a fundamentalist about it, say, yeah, I believe it. I believe it all. Or I don't believe it.
Necessary at all, because that's the thing. The Bible is not the Word of God. And I challenge any Christian on this. It is not the Word of God. It is man's interpretation of the Word of God, if you believe in God. It's man's interpretation of the Word of God. Because it's written by man. It's not written by man, God.
And it's been challenged by man. I mean, the Bible most commonly in use now is the King James Bible, and King James, who came to the throne in 1602 or 3.
I'll take your word for it.
Sometime around there. At a time of huge religious turmoil, he basically got the leaders of the main Christian sects together and shut them in a room and said, come up with a Bible that you can all agree on, a version of it. And so we have the King James Bible. Yeah.
Well, and they've left huge parts out of it. There are books in the Bible, that were written, 300 years ago.
And these will be the subject of conspiracy theories as well, of course.
That's why you don't take it literal. It's abstract. But, if people want to believe, they believe. Just don't take it literally. Anyway, well, we're off topic. We're
off topic, but we do. My religious upbringing, it was Church of England, very, very wishy-washy, where they say things like, well, Jesus, if there really was a Jesus, perhaps it would have been several people this has been attributed to, but, and when they say he rose the dead, well, perhaps he wasn't really dead, or, But, so it's to expect me to kind of believe in it or dedicate myself to it when it's so vague and wishy-washy anyway, and there isn't really much of a moral lesson to be learned from it, well, no wonder I'm not a believer.
That's it. But anyway, back onto topic, because we're running out of time. So this occurrence in 1959 in Papua New Guinea. Neil, genuine UFO encounter, genuine extraterrestrial visitation on a missionary?
It looks like it. I mean, to take him at his word, that's exactly what it sounds like. And I can't say, and nobody else has been able to say in the intervening 63 years that it was anything else. That nothing else seems credible. The only thing that's we just have to take his word for it, don't we? That's what he saw, but we can't really do anything more with it.
No, I absolutely agree. I mean, the fact that these creatures, these beings, appeared to be human or human-like, it puts me in mind of, like, hang on a minute, could it be time travel? Rather than, and there is an argument to say that actually UFOs are time travel rather than.
Well, if they're interdimensional beings, then they will travel through time, won't they?
Well, no, us from the
Because
future.
time is a dimension.
But us, humans, from another time, from the future.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's just a speculative theory out there amongst many, many others. What do you think, though, listeners? Is the whole thing in 1959? Did he make it up with his students? Get a bit of attention, try and get a bit of funding out there, like you say, Neil. Not a very wealthy place at all. Certainly,
it's one of the most primitive places on the planet at the time. And did they get any funding as a result? Was there any bid for money? Or
don't know, but it might have put the place on the map at least. So I don't know. But listeners, what do you think? Is it genuine? Is it not? Do let us know via the usual means. You can email us aliensexplored@gmail.com. You can find us on Facebook and Twitter by searching Aliens Explored, or you can sign up to one of our Patreon tiers and get exclusive access to our Discord server where you can chat with us and fellow explorers about this and any of the other topics that we discuss on the show. You can find details at patreon.com/aliens explored, and the details are linked below. Join us next time, though, when, speaking of time, we'll be looking into the lost time phenomenon that you get with a lot of UFO encounters, where people they'll see a UFO and suddenly realise it's 2 hours later. And they don't know why.
Yeah, we have touched on this before, haven't we?
We have.
People have experienced this.
In far more depth, so you don't want to miss that one. In the meantime, keep watching the skies above the missionaries and elsewhere. Take care for now.
Catch you next time. Bye-bye.
Aliens Explored is a Figo Films production in association with Juicy Fomes. Music by Darren Mafucci and editing by Stu Jackson. Find us on Twitter and Facebook by searching Aliens Explored or visit aliensexplored.com.